people. I think I'll turn on the camera now because I'll probably forget.
Recording in progress.
This meeting is being recorded.
Okay, hello everyone. This is Chuck Tironi, Reading Conservation Administrator, consistent with the governor's orders superseding certain provisions of the open meeting law and allowing us to adhere to social distancing requirements during this COVID-19 crisis. Town of Reading Conservation Commission meeting is being held virtually via Zoom for audio and video participation of the Conservation Commission members, applicants, and their representatives and members of the public. During the meeting, myself or the chair will unmute commissioners, applicants, representatives, and members of the public, excuse me, individually as needed. During this conservation meeting, the chair will be the only one to permit sharing video. These controls are in place to ensure that tonight's meeting is safe and effective. At this time, Chair Moore will conduct a roll call vote to make sure that all members are present and that they can hear.
This will be the order in which we'll be voting later today. John?
John Sullivan, present.
Andrew?
Andrew Driven, present.
Carl?
Carl Ciccone, present.
And Martha Moore, Chair, present.
Thank you, everyone. Please note that tonight's meeting is being recorded. Also be aware that that other folks may be able to see you. Anything that you broadcast may be captured by the recording. All of the materials at this meeting are available on the Conservation Division site, and I recommend that commission members and the public follow the agenda as posted on the Town of Reading webpage, or unless otherwise noted. However, because tonight's meeting is being conducted remotely, I advise applicants in particular that the commission cannot discuss or consider documents which were not previously posted. Information may be presented orally. Similarly, members of the public are encouraged to provide written public comment, but should understand that not all participants nor the commission members will be able to see any written comments during the course of tonight's meeting. Before we get started on tonight's agenda, I'm going to cover some ground rules for effective and clear conduct of our business and to ensure that accurate minutes are being taken. For any response, please wait for the chair to yield the floor to you and state your name before speaking. After commission members make their remarks, these remarks have been addressed by the applicant, the chair will afford the public comment as follows. The chair will first ask members of the public who wish to speak to identify themselves by name. Once the chair has a list of commentators, the chair will call on each one by name and afford them 4 minutes for comments. And the applicants may be requested to respond by the chair or the conservation administrator. After the public comment, the chair will once again go down the line of commissioners, inviting each one by name to provide further comment, question, or motions. Please hold off until your name is called. Finally, each vote taken during the course of tonight's meeting will be conducted by roll call vote. That's all I have, Chair Moore.
Okay, our first hearing is 0 Small Lane, and I understand that we've already voted to continue that to December 14th, so that should not need a vote, correct? Okay, so our next hearing is 550 West Street, and the applicant has requested that we continue that until November 9th. Can I have a motion to that effect?
I move to continue 550 West Street to November 9th.
Second.
Okay, that's Carl Ciccone seconding. And John, start the voting.
John Sullivan in favor.
Andrew Driven in favor.
Oh, Carl Sacconi in favor.
And Martha Moore in favor. Okay. The next hearing is 87 Belmont Street. And they have submitted a new plan. Chuck, are you going to put that up for us?
I
And-
am waiting for it to open right now. And Jack, I'll allow Jack in and hold on a second, Jack. Okay, Jack's in. Jack, is anyone else with you tonight?
Looks like
Hal,
Hal
Hal
has his hand
with
up.
his hand up.
Sure. Okay, Hal, you're next. Hal, you are all set right now. Okay, Jack, I'm going to put up the new plan that you sent us for 87 Belmont.
Okay. Thank you very much, members. My name's Jack Sullivan. I'm owner of the Sullivan Engineering Group. And at our last meeting, the commission wanted to do a site walk on the property, which I know was completed. But also what came up at the last meeting is this is a redevelopment project within the riverfront. And there were some questions on, do we meet the performance standards for redevelopment? So what I tried to do is I provided a table on the right-hand side of the plan, halfway up, the riverfront redevelopment standards, showing one, that the proposed work results in an improvement over existing conditions. 2, stormwater mitigation was provided. We provided a dry well to capture the roof area of the addition. 3, the proposed work is within a previously disturbed area. And number 4, the proposed degraded area exceeds the existing degraded area by 491 square feet. We proposed a planting area to the rear towards the brook within the 25-foot no disturb zone of 1,330 square feet. So we provided greater than a 2-to-1 ratio of mitigation over the degraded area. So I think that shows we met the performance standards. All other elements of the plan are as we presented last time. And I think on that, I'll just turn it over to the commission to see if there's questions or if there's any questions from the site walk that took place.
Is there anyone on the commission who has questions or comments? Andrew?
Oh, thanks. So thanks for the new plan, Jack. Just looking at the numbers, trying to make sense of where we're at. How did you come to the number of, so you said the proposed planting area is 1,330 square feet. Where did you get that number from? How are you figuring that out?
I took the area of the proposed planting. So I think, what do we have? A total of, I think 21 plantings. And so it goes along the width of the 25-foot no disturbance line, and it goes back about a depth of 10 feet. So I just basically took that general area of where, from the grass line to where we're putting the plantings, and came up with an area for that.
So you're saying it's the planting is really only going 10 feet deep roughly?
Yeah, because there's some existing trees back there. You can see the existing trees. So yeah, we're going back about 10 feet. So that will reestablish, you know, the 25-foot no disturb line along the entire width of the lot.
Okay. Yeah, so I'm asking because when you look at the riverfront standards, specifically what you have lettered 4, which I think is actually 1058-5D or E, but it states that you're supposed to be within 10% of the riverfront area. I don't have the exact quote in front of me, I'm sorry. So,
yeah,
but it's something we need to review. So I'm looking at your map and you have about 18,000 square feet of riverfront area. And 10% of that would be roughly 1,800. So the existing house was technically already over that. That's fine, it's grandfathered in. But now that we're doing new work, what we have to try to meet is the 1,800 square feet. So we're actually not in excess of 500, but closer to 1,200 per the code. So if I have those numbers correct, then we
Well,
want to get a mitigation of 2 to 1. So we're looking more for close to 2,400 square feet proposed planting, which I thought would be easier because I didn't really think about the trees that were there. But yeah, if we had, it's about 100 feet long back there and you've got 25 feet deep. So it's just, I think part of it, maybe we have to expand the planting area. So goes a little bit into the 35-foot zone and think about if there's something we could do underneath the existing trees. Maybe some of the other folks at the commission have some thoughts about what we can do to meet that, or Chuck. But we're getting there.
Yeah, so Andy, you're saying that you can degrade up to 10%?
Yeah, that 1058.5 D or E, the up to 10% of the riverfront area. And if you go over it, then you either mitigate or you restore.
Yeah, I looked at under the redevelopment standards under that same section, but subsection G. It says, despite what it says in 310 CMR 1058.5 C, D, or E, more alteration at the riverfront outer boundary may be allowed if an applicant proposes mitigation at a 2 to 1 ratio.
Yeah, we're saying the same thing. Yeah.
Yeah, same thing. I didn't think of it the way you said it, Andrew. Though it's a good thought. You were saying 10%, so roughly 1,800 square feet would be allowed. So we really should be basing it. I went off what the existing impervious area was. You're saying it should be based on the 1,800 square feet, so we have a larger difference.
Yeah, exactly.
Chuck, do you know what would be the appropriate interpretation of that?
So on 1058 E, so the area proposed shall not exceed the degraded area, provided that the work may alter up to 10%. So we're not talking about what's degraded now, in my opinion. We're talking about everything can't alter more than 10%. What's there and what's proposed. And if it does, you need to mitigate for the difference, which is at 2 to 1. So if Jack has the numbers of everything on this property that's considered degraded, okay, he has to take anything new over the 10% and mitigate at 2 to 1. I'm not sure if that was clear, but
Yeah, I mean, just if I can interject 1 second. Am I on? Why am I on? Chuck and I have talked about this before for previous projects, but I mean, when we're talking redevelopment, typically you're thinking on a large scale, it's a tear down. You're in a riverfront area, there's an old structure there, and you tear it down and you're going to be building something new. So that's how these numbers start to make more sense in that scenario. When you're not really taking anything down, it does make things more complicated, but they are overcome if we either mitigate or restore.
So the proposed work shall not exceed the amount of degraded area, provided that the proposed work may alter up to 10%. So that's new work, proposed work. All right. If the degraded area, the existing area, is less than 10% of the riverfront, okay, except, and Jack has picked 1058 G, which he has to mitigate anything over that 10% that's new at 2 to 1. So that's how it was read. Not sure what Jack has done. It sounds like we're darn close to being there.
Yeah, what I did, Chuck, is I took the difference between the existing impervious coverage, which is 2,586 square feet. I said we added 491 square feet. So I took that difference, and from the way you read it to me tonight and Andrew read it to me tonight, that really I should have taken it from 1,800 square feet. So I really need to come up with 2,400 square feet of planting area instead of the 1,330.
Well,
If I'm following what everyone's saying correctly.
I think so, but I think that you're mitigating for the work. It's not all about the planting. So the infiltration system is part of it too, although that's part of A also. So
Yeah.
you're meeting A because you're doing an improvement, but the planting's an improvement too. So you could look at it, in my opinion, that this mitigation is the infiltration system and the planting, and that's how you met G.
Well, I like that idea if other people agree with it.
Well, let's find out.
John or Carl, do you have thoughts on this?
Yeah. I think I'm kind of in agreement with Chuck that the drainage or the stormwater capture is a type of mitigation, so.
Yeah, I do not, Martha, no.
No thoughts from Carl. Okay. Yeah, I'm inclined to think that Jack has provided enough mitigation. The only other thing that I would think might help in this situation would be when we were out there, and I don't have my copy of that plan handy. I noticed that there were some invasives along the riverbank, and maybe part of the mitigation could be dealing with things like buckthorn that are growing along the edge, if that's what the invasives were. And that might kind of help reach Andrew's goal of enough mitigation to allow this project to go through. I do remember noticing there were some Norway maples, but I think there were some other things as well. And I wouldn't want to ask you to cut down existing trees, but if there are smaller things like buckthorn, that could be managed while you are planting your shrubs so that they don't compete with the plantings, that might make a reasonable compromise. What do you think of that, Andrew?
I was trying to find some photos of what was going on back there. I do remember there's that little bridge, which I'll get back to in a second, but I do recall there being, it wasn't heavily in, there wasn't a ton of invasives, but yeah, I think not being afraid to go back there and having the owners get rid of if there's any buckthorn or any other invasives that we want to try to get rid of would be great. That would, I mean, then in a way that goes towards restoring the riverfront, right? So if you say, in my mind, to kind of justify it, you've got about 10, 15 feet of planting, and then the remaining 10 feet you're restoring, and you got the numbers in my head. So restoring meaning you're removing invasives and just keeping it as a riverfront, basically. And then plus we've got the mitigation. Yeah, I think I could get behind that.
Okay. Sounds like that part of this project is all set. When you presented just now, Jack, you didn't mention the proposed 4-foot high aluminum fence.
Oh, sorry about that.
And I see it on the plan going along, just along the 25-foot line at the back. And I presume it goes up both property boundaries on either side.
Yep, it does. It's hard to see because it's a heavy line there, but
Yeah.
there is a notation on each side property line that there'd be a proposed 4-foot high aluminum fence. And then I show how the fence will return to the house on each side. But you're
Oh.
correct. You're correct. It does. We're going to put it right along the 25-foot line.
Yeah, and I see where the gate is next to the 1-story house and also just near the stormwater dry well.
That's correct. And that was a good point, Martha. I guess that the owner had brought up something about fencing during the site walk, and the commission said we should show it on the plan, so that was added. Yep.
And my understanding is that that 4-foot high fence would look very similar to the one the neighbors have at number 93 Belmont.
Is that correct, Hal?
That's correct.
Okay, yeah, so that would have no barrier to small animals traveling across. Yeah, okay. I don't have any more questions. Does anybody else on the commission have questions?
No.
Okay, Andrew does.
Well, Chuck has a comment. I'll let him go and then.
Oh, so
Thanks,
I was just going to say I found out where this all fits in G, and it allows a 2-to-1 mitigation area or an equivalent level of environmental protection where square footage is not a relevant measure. So I think we're there, and we can find out where we are also in the regulations.
Nice.
That's all I wanted to say.
Okay. Andrew.
Yeah, I'm reading that too, Chuck. I agree. But I know we were also there, and there's potential in the future of a trail going towards some of the open space on the other side of the brook. And we're talking about potentially having an easement for future trail going to the street. Public way. Was that a possibility of being something that we could keep on the table? I mean, it may not happen, but it definitely won't happen if we don't talk about it. So is that something in the future that we could potentially get on the table? Is if there is ever a trail built from Charles, I think, to the open space back there, to potentially having an easement for a trail to the street?
Are you asking Hal?
Yeah, that's up to Hal, the owners.
Yeah, I'm asking Chuck if that's a reasonable request. Is it even a remote possibility? Because if it's not, then it doesn't matter. But if it is a remote possibility, then yeah, can we ask if that's okay with the owners?
Sure. So, Hal, you understand that in back of you is Timberneck Swamp. It's an area owned by the Conservation Commission, and it's probably lightly traveled in there. And there has been some discussion about putting in a trail along the brook and along the redundant water line, which abuts your property and your neighbor's property, where it says existing sewer easement, but there's also a water line in there also. I believe that's what Andrew's talking about is right now there are no plans, but if the Trails Committee and the Conservation Commission came up with a plan, would you be available to have a conversation about maybe some access from Belmont Street to that open easement area that's just behind your house?
I think, those are two hypotheticals, I think, in that, and it's a little bit difficult to say one way or another without any more details. My wife just walked in and she unfortunately couldn't hear what you just described. So I always open to have a conversation, but I don't really have a great sense of what that would entail. So beyond that, it's difficult to say anything one way or another.
Sure. I think that what I was hearing from Andrew is that since nothing's even on paper at this moment, as long as you're open to have a conversation when the possibility of a trail does happen, we could reach out to you, invite you to a meeting, and then talk about it with at that point, we'd have more details. Like I said, there's nothing planned for this upcoming year. But at some point, I guess, open space always becomes an area that has trails in it. And we like to have public access also.
Having a dialogue around it seems like the best path forward when that time comes.
Fair enough.
All right, Andy. Okay. Sounded like it wasn't, yeah, it was, let us know. Like I said, the Trails Committee is not even talking about this area yet, but there is definitely a possibility, and there are no trails in there.
Okay. All right, so are there any other things, Chuck, that you wanted to bring up on this project?
The only thing that's when I write the order of conditions, we did see some yard waste, just some grass clippings right on the bank. I'm going to write that in there. I think at the site visit, we pointed it out. That's the only thing we didn't discuss tonight. That will be in the order of conditions. It's a very small amount.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Are there any members of the general public who are here at tonight's meeting who want to have any chance to have a comment on this project? If so, use the reactions button at the bottom of your Zoom screen and click on the raise hand feature. Okay, seeing none, I think the next step would be a motion to close this hearing.
This is Andrew. I'll move to close the hearing for 87 Belmont.
This is John. I'll second.
Okay,
John Sullivan in favor.
Andrew Driven in favor.
Carl Ciccone in favor.
Martha Moore in favor. Okay, then the next thing would be a motion to approve the project.
Yeah, so someone will make a motion, and between the motion and a vote, we want to talk about conditions. We need a motion first, though.
This is a notice of intent, right? So I'll make a motion to approve the notice of intent for 87 Belmont with the condition that there will be, in addition to what's on the plan, invasive plant management, and the possibility of a trail discussion in the future, and the removal of any yard waste that was found along the riverfront.
This is John. I'll second the motion.
Okay, any chance for discussion? Any more things that we need to put in there?
And then
I don't hear any. All right, Chuck, are you all set?
yeah, I have invasive plant management, trail discussion, and yard waste management, plus the mitigation that was offered during the course of the meeting.
Mhm. Okay, so I guess we can vote.
John Sullivan in favor.
Andrew Driven in favor.
Carl Ciccone in favor.
Martha Moore in favor. Okay,
All
the
right,
project has been approved.
Thank you for your time tonight.
thanks, Jack.
I think that was a good dialogue to get through the riverfront. I thought it was a good back and forth.
Thank you.
Yep.
And I'm
Thank you,
glad to
Jack.
see
Thank
you
you to the
seem to
board.
be feeling better than 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, I sound a little better. I do. I'm doing better. Thank you for asking.
Good.
Okay.
All right, Jack, Hal, thanks, everyone.
All right. Good night.
Yeah,
All right,
bye
good
now.
luck with your project.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, I'm going to bring in Bob Ward, and we can start up on 62 Range Road.
Okay.
Martha, do you want to summarize, or do you want me to summarize?
Right. I think I can summarize. We discussed this a lot at the last meeting, and we were just waiting for a file number to be issued by DEP. We now have a file number. I forgot to read off the whole blurb about 87 Belmont Street. Should I read off the blurb about 62 Range Road?
You can, yeah.
Okay. Continue the public hearing on a notice of intent filed by Reading Rifle and Revolver Club Robert Ward pursuant to the Massachusetts General Law, Chapter 131, Section 40 of the Wetlands Protection Act and/or the Reading Wetland Protection Bylaw, Section 7.1. The applicant proposes to construct a 60-foot by 60-foot slab-on-grade addition to the main clubhouse. 4 trees will be removed as part of this project. As mitigation for the work, the applicant proposes to infiltrate the roof runoff and plant 4 native trees within the 100-foot buffer zone. The application and plans can be viewed on the Conservation Division page under Current Project, Assessor's Map 41, Lot 1, 4, DEP file number 270-0761. And when we talked about it at our last meeting, we were looking at some conditions to put on this. And I think we talked about having Chuck go out there and approve the specific location for the tree plantings. We would want a condition of 3-year survival of the trees. We would want erosion control installed. And we talked about the soil stockpile area being out at the 300 range. Are there any other comments that people have on this project? And Bob, do you have any other comments or questions for the commission?
Yes, after the meeting, I spoke with a contractor, and the soil being taken up is going to be taken off the site.
Okay, so no need for a stockpile, soil removed from site.
Yes, that's correct.
Okay,
So I'll make that a condition, that the soil's removed from the site.
all right. Chuck, do you have any other comments or conditions that you want to see?
No, Bob, there's a bunch of boilerplate, so we're gonna have to do a site visit prior to signing the building permit. But first step, put the erosion control up. Secondly, all your work should be as far away from that side of the building as possible, staging area and whatnot. So that's generally it. And I need a sign at the front gate saying with this DEP file number.
Is that front gate right out on Haverhill Street or where it branches off further down?
Well, that's the beginning of their property on that Simon's Way Road. And so I think that would have to suffice.
Okay.
It's not the main road, but it's also not, the main road's not their property.
Got it. Does that make sense, Bob?
Yes, it does.
Okay. All right. One last chance. Is there anybody from the public here that had questions or comments about this project? Please use the raise hand feature in the reactions button at the bottom. Okay. Anybody from the commission, any further questions, or should we close this hearing?
I think we should close. This is Andrew. I'll make a motion to close 62 Range Road.
This is John. I'll second. John Sullivan in favor.
Andrew Driven in favor. Oh, sorry, Carl. Andrew Driven in favor.
Carl Ciccone in favor.
Martha Moore in favor. Okay. And then we need a motion to, let me think, this is a notice of intent. So we need to approve this notice of intent.
Motion to issue.
Okay.
Carl Sacconi, second.
Wait a minute, who
We
said
need someone
motion?
to make a motion, although the chair can.
Okay. All right. Normally I don't. Can somebody else on the commission move to issue the notice of intent? Is that the right phrasing, Chuck?
Yeah, for 62 Range Road, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, sorry, Chuck, I thought you did. I'll motion to issue notice of intent for 62 Range Road, DP file number 270-0761.
This is John. I'll second. John Sullivan in favor.
Andrew Driven in favor.
Carl Sacconi in favor.
Martha Moore in favor.
All right.
Okay.
All right.
Thank
That's
you
all
very
you needed,
much.
Bob.
So you'll be in touch with Chuck about site visits before you start work and things like that.
Will do. All
Okay.
All right.
Thank
Thanks,
you
Bob.
for coming.
right, thank you, guys, girls, thank you.
You're welcome. All right. 39 Lila Lane is our next one. And I see that the applicant requests that we continue to November 9th. I think we need to vote on that. So can I have a motion to continue to November 9th?
I can make a motion to continue 39 Lila Lane to November 9th.
Thank you.
This is John. I'll second.
Okay.
And John Sullivan in favor.
Andrew Driven in favor.
Carl Sacconi in favor.
Martha Moore in favor. Okay, 66 Fairchild Drive. We have a request, we want to open the public hearing on a request for determination of applicability filed by Mark and Vanessa Candelora under the Massachusetts Wetland Protection Act, MGL Chapter 131, Section 40, and/or the Reading Wetland Protection Bylaw, Section 7.1. The applicant proposes to demolish an existing deck and rebuild within the same footprint, but with new 14 by 10 extension on the east side of the deck. A total of 13 2-foot by 2-foot by 4-foot footings will be hand dug and filled with concrete. Stairs will be located off each side of the deck as depicted in the plans, and erosion control will be installed. All of the work is within the buffer zone to a bylaw bordering vegetated wetland. All of the work is within the 100-foot buffer zone to a bordering vegetated wetland. The application and plans can be viewed on the Conservation Division page under Projects by Year, Assessor's Map 45, Lot 26, RCC file number 2022-15. Okay, do we have anybody here representing that project?
Yes, we do. We have Jonathan Carrier, and I will let him in right now.
Hi, everybody. My name is Brett Carricker. I apologize. My first name is Jonathan. So if you refer to me, my name is Brett. And I am the contractor on the site at 66 Fairchild. And appreciate you guys having me.
Sure. So I'll put up the plans, and you can describe your project. I think maybe just go through the plans quickly.
Please forgive my amateur architectural drawings, but they suffice to get the permit approved through the building department. So I think the best plan, Chuck, would be to put it on the physical plot plan so that we can discuss the layout, or would you like for me to discuss the current dimensions of the deck? Because that's what I'm looking at currently.
Yeah, let's see if we can find the plot plan. Not sure if it's
There it
That's
is.
it right there.
okay.
Okay, so the current plot plan, as you're looking at it, I have drawn on where our access point will be from the main point on Fairchild Drive to the abutters property, where we'll be putting a temporary road in. Erosion control would be, silt fencing throughout the property line from the road in between the property lines of the neighbors, and then surrounding up to the easement point at the 25-foot mark at the rear of the property. I had an additional plot plan, I believe, that was added in that may have been on the next page, Chuck, that showed more detail, if I'm not mistaken. So yes, this is it. This is the current one. So the double lines you see at the top of the page are the silt fencing. It surrounds the property. The existing deck is currently there that will be torn down, and then the new deck extension off of that to it's actually the west side of the house. All believe within like 120 feet from the current point of access to the conservation land, and then 25 from the attached easement. Staging plans and details for all of our tools would be to the east side of the deck at the rear of the property, tucked close to the house and tarped over during non-working hours. A pretty basic, straightforward plan in place. As far as the footings are concerned, the only difference on the plans that were stated in the reading by you, Martha, were that we would potentially like to have a piece of equipment now to dig these footings for efficiency. The plan is to haul out all of the back soil that's not reused around the sonotubes. And it's not going to be that much when you're talking 13 holes, but it would speed the process up. So that's the only current plan, is that I would like to have the option to bring in a mini excavator with the auger on the attachment, and that's the only change on the current plan. So I think that pretty much sums up the project and what we're we doing there. I'd like to open the floor for you guys for any proposals or anything that you don't see in the plans that we would need to do, but I believe we're well outside of the proposed lines.
Okay. 3 of us went with Chuck today and did a site visit this morning.
Right.
Andrew was there and I was there and Brian was there, but he's not with us tonight. Andrew, do you have any comments from the site visit that you want to share with the commission?
You could add anything of relevance, Chuck or Martha, but yeah, we were there this morning, and we could see the house and where the proposed deck is drawn on white or painted in white to help us figure out where it's going to be. And the house sits in a large yard where it's set up, and then about 25 feet or so off the house, there's the elevation of the ground goes down probably 5-10 feet, and then there's a nice open field of grass. And on the edges around that, we have some, on the left and right of that, really, some wetlands. But we did take a tape out, and from where we roughly saw the wetlands closest, we're over 90 feet away to where the proposed deck will be. So it seemed like we're pretty healthy distance from the wetlands, but it was great to see what you're proposing here. And as far as I'm concerned, I'm just beyond the site visit, but I understand why you want to bring in an auger to dig all the holes.
Yeah, ran into my fair share of rocks.
I don't know if,
that would be my only current open-ended question with you guys, is that add any extra contingencies to the plan proceeding, but it would only be a one day thing where we're in and out of there with the machinery.
I mean, others could speak to this too, but I think it's more a question for us is where's the material that you're pulling out going? Mm-hmm. That's probably our bigger concern, is it just being dropped? So like worst case scenario, that's being put in the wetland, right? So it sounds like you're removing it from the site entirely. So that's the bigger concern for me, at least.
Yep, it will be hauled off. It's not going to be much, so it will be hauled off. Any extras will be.
Sounds good.
Yeah.
Anything else, Brian?
No.
Okay. I just wanted to say, when we were out there, it looked like the shed that's drawn in on the plan in the back left corner doesn't exist anymore. There is a play structure there, but I didn't see a shed. So that possible encroachment of movable shed seems to be irrelevant. The only other thing I noticed was that along the edge of that wetland area in the back corner of the property, there does seem to be some buckthorn, which is an invasive species. The area also has some lovely sedge and fern and a willow and a birch, so that there's a lot of nice vegetation, but there also is a little bit of buckthorn growing along the edge next to the lawn. So something for the property owners to be aware of. And that was all the comments I had. Carl, you have your hand raised.
Yeah, I think one maybe typical question we often ask is, Andrew, one of it is the material will be trucked off site, which is great, but 13, the drawing shows appears to be kind of like those Bigfoot 4-foot frost footings, which is great. 13 will create probably a few cubic yards of earth. So in the meantime, the excavator digs the hole. Will it be, kind of taken out per footing, or will there be sort of a pile of debris on site somewhere? If so, should we just make sure that's in a smart area before?
Yeah, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. The current plan would be to have my dump trailer on site to pretty much remove it as is. I've got people who will take that soil at no charge from me, so I will just basically haul it out, and I will leave some for backfill around the footings. So there may be some excess that's hauled off at the end, but as far as the containment of it, it will be closer to the house because it will be under the working deck area. It will be we'll be traveling in the outside of the framing once that portion is completed. So once we get it done, we'll have that's when my guys will be on their knees shoveling stuff back into holes.
Cool. Okay, thanks.
Okay. I guess my one question, and it would be one that Chuck might have a good answer for. It seemed to us, with the work being 90 feet plus away from the wetland itself, that it might be that you could get away with minimal or no erosion control in this particular location, because all your work is going to be on the other side of that wide field of grass. Chuck, does that make sense to you? Do they need to put in the silt fence, or could they do something less expensive, perhaps?
No, I think I would go with the commission's recommendation and not have silt fence or erosion control installed. But during my inspections, if I felt like it was needed, we have the option to request it at that time. So nothing to start with.
All right, thank you.
Okay, that might save you a little money, and the grass might survive a little better not having to dig in a silt fence.
Perfect, thank you.
Yeah, okay. Anybody else on the commission with any comments or questions? Or Chuck, do you have anything else?
No, I don't.
Okay, and I don't think there's any other members of the public on this call. So we don't have to ask for comments from the public. Okay, so this is a request for determination of applicability. So in order for this project to go forward, we would need a motion for a negative determination.
Do we need to close it first, or can we just put the motion forward?
You just put the motion forward on
All right.
RDA.
This is Andy. I'll make a motion for a negative determination in the RDA for 66 Fairchild Lane.
This is John. I'll second. And John Sullivan is in favor.
Sure. Do we want to talk about conditions? Just before we move forward, just to make sure. So mini equipment is okay, and the spoils are removed from the site, and there will be no erosion control. Is there anything else the commission would like?
I mentioned having the owners aware of the buckthorn in the back corner of the property, but I don't know that that needs to be a condition.
I'd be glad to bring it up to them, and if it's not too much work for my team, I will gladly help in that process. It's no big deal to us. I just need to know, first of all, what buckthorn is, and then we can help potentially eradicate it. I just we need some more information.
So if
maybe-
you're willing to do that, I'll bring out a spray can and I'll just spray all the plants, and you just pull them out, root and all.
That works for me.
Great.
Okay, so you can discuss that with the homeowners.
I will.
Awesome. Thank you. Okay, I don't think there's any other conditions we need. This is a pretty easy one. Thank you.
Thank you.
So we just need to finish the vote.
Okay, John voted in favor.
Oh, okay. Andrew Driven in favor.
Carl Ciccone in favor.
Martha Moore in favor.
Okay.
All right. Thank you very much, guys.
Yeah.
Thank you.
All right, Brett. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Our next item is number 7, which is 31 Herald, and not hearing from the homeowners or Jack Sullivan about this, I would suggest that we just continue to our next meeting.
Can we have a motion to continue?
That would be November 9th.
I move to continue 31 Harold Ave to November 9th. This is John.
Andrew, I'll second that.
John Sullivan in favor.
Andrew Driven in favor.
Carl Ciccone in favor.
Martha Moore in favor. Okay, that takes us to old new business. Chuck, what do you want to do first?
Yeah, well, let's look at 14 Dean Road. I think that's been one of the ones that's been hanging out there, and I just want to get some of it looked at. So I'm just going to rattle on. Me and Martha went out there today, not today, but on Monday. And what we were looking for was this terraced area that was beyond probably what the homeowners considered their usable area, because it was fairly steep. Was all lawn, well, it was all dirt, and it probably went 30 feet or so, and it had 2 terraced areas that were dirt. And the request at a previous site visit was that that was seeded, and since this family is selling their house, they wanted to do something more immediate, so they ended up rolling out sod in these 2 areas. I think it ended up being, you know, a pretty good solution to the situation. And there was one spot that was missing, and when we were out there, just kind of thinking off the top of our heads, we said, well, to finish that up, would you put some mulch there? And the homeowner said that he would be happy to do that. And that's what we have here. So in the picture, you can see a stone wall, a fence, stone wall, and another stone wall heading from right to left. Mulch is directly in front of you. And what you're looking at, the grass, is actually sod that was most recently rolled out in that area. So I feel like they've met that last request that the commission had. I have some other pictures, but essentially it's the same thing. So Martha, do you have anything to add to that site visit? You were there and part of it.
Yeah, the sod looked like it was doing well. They had been watering it, and it was healthy. And the bushes that they had previous planted also looked healthy. So it was just this little piece of bare dirt that they ran out of sod before they ran out of fence, that needed some attention to keep the invasives from all growing in that opening. So I think this will do okay to keep the invasives down for a while, and we'll hope that the next owners will continue to keep the invasives from taking over there. So I'm happy with their solution, and I think we can give them a letter to say that the enforcement order has been satisfied.
Right. Yeah, I prepared a letter, and I think commission members are going to be really happy that I'm going to actually sign this one myself, and send it off to them. But it does say that with a vote, it will say that they satisfied all the conditions of the enforcement order.
Yeah, I mean, if Martha's happy, I'm happy. She's more familiar with this. My one question, is this area mowable? I mean, what's going to happen to this grass next summer, or is it just never going to get too tall? Because
my image would be they would need a weed whacker to handle it. And I think the current owners have had weed whackers in there. It's not too steep to be able to walk on with a weed whacker.
Got it. All right.
Martha, just a question. With all my newly found meadow and native species work, is there a benefit to mowing and weed whacking? Because I almost feel like a lot of that, if that's just some sod that's most likely not this native, it's like a bluegrass or something, or that's pretty tough stuff that might really keep things at bay, like thick and hedgy and taller and beefy. So
yeah.
So are you thinking that it would be better for them not to mow that area?
Yeah, because it's going to fight off and fend off so many between natives and invasives. It's not going to let much grow there. So
okay.
There's some shrubs there too. You can't see those in the pictures. They did plant some shrubs on the tier.
Yeah.
Yeah, we had originally hoped that they might plant some, wildflower mix or some, native ground cover, but they didn't have time for that in their trying to sell this house and move to another one.
Yeah, no, I think sod's a good choice. The wildflower mix is extremely difficult without a lot of maintenance. It's a nice in theory. I think I've mentioned this to Chuck over the kind of years. It's a good theory, but it's extremely difficult to work. Unless one thing we could discuss over the years is they do have native sod mixes that of course are 3 times as expensive, but they just kind of take and that's a better chance. But so I don't know, I think that's a fine. I just was wondering if there was any pro and con versus maybe letting it just go versus weed whacking, but so okay.
Yeah, I'm reluctant to put that in the letter because of where it is.
Yeah.
And there's also that thought about, in my opinion, sod doesn't really grow that tall right away. It takes forever.
Yeah.
And it seems to be very slow growing.
Yeah.
But we don't want to choke out the new shrubs also.
Okay.
So it might be likely that no one ever gets over there to weed whack that area. So
yeah.
I think we're covered. Okay. Can we get a vote to that the commission's satisfied with the work done and to rescind the enforcement action on 14 Dean Road?
So what we're asking for is a motion to allow Chuck to sign and send that letter, correct?
That's fine, yeah.
I move to approve Chuck sending the letter for 14 Dean Road.
Carl Ciccone, I'll second that.
John Sullivan in favor.
Andrew Driven in favor.
Carl Ciccone in favor.
Martha Moore in favor. Okay. What's next, Chuck?
Sure. So next on the agenda is it's Joy Lane, but it's formerly off Howard Street. And the developer has finished off 2 houses. They're ready for a certificate of occupancy, both lot 5 and lot 6. And I guess that's 5 and 11 Joy Lane are outside of the conservation's jurisdiction. 5 would be the closest, and I can pull that up as soon as it opens up on my screen. And so because this whole lot was part of one order of conditions, each time a house comes up for occupancy, even though it's outside the jurisdictional area, outside the 100-foot, because they don't have a certificate of compliance from the Conservation Commission, I need to ask permission to sign off on the occupancy. So that's what we're doing here tonight. And, you know, the explanation is it's a 6-lot subdivision. These are the first 2. They're outside of the 100-foot buffer zone. And so we would typically sign off on such things. This is lot 5. It's on the screen now. This would be the closest area to the buffer. This is the cul-de-sac right here in this area. And we have a wetland at the end of the cul-de-sac, and we have a isolated vegetated wetland up in this area here, but none of those 2 areas affect lot 5. I'm not sure you can see that. So the request is just for the commission to approve that I sign off on the occupancy permit for both lot 5 and 6, address number 5 and 11 Joy. Is it Joy Lane? Joy Lane.
Since this is really outside of our jurisdiction, there's really nothing that we need to know about or approve. We just need to give Chuck permission. Is that correct?
Yes, that's what I'm asking for.
All right. Can I have a motion to authorize Chuck to sign the occupancy permit for these 2 lots?
I move to authorize Chuck to sign the occupancy permits for 5 and 11 Joy Lane.
Carl Saccone, second.
John Sullivan in favor.
Andrew Gibbon in favor.
Carl Saccone in favor.
And Martha Moore in favor.
Great.
Before we move, hey Chuck, when we do these in the future, do you have like the larger plan for which these are a part of, just so I could see like what's going on?
Sure.
If you just want it to be a rubber stamp, then we could do that. But
I'm not going to remember
this one, and it's.
I'm not going to remember. I'm not going to try to remember, but I'm going to say anybody on the commission that wants some additional material, please just email me. We do have plans in this, and I could have also got them from the developer. So I'm assuming you want a plan that shows all 6 lots and the wetlands.
Yeah, the
Not a
overall. Yep.
Yeah. Okay. Understood.
Yeah, especially because I think Andrew was not yet on the commission when we approved this project. This was the first one I ever got to vote on. So that was in 2020, January of 2020. So
Right.
Cool.
you
Thanks.
would not have seen the plans previously.
No, I haven't. But all's good.
All right.
All right. So just moving down the list quickly, I think the next stopping point would be the minutes approval for 9/14/22.
Yeah, I just sent those to Chuck on Monday, and he got those out to you
Put
all.
those off till next time.
You don't think you had enough time? Okay. Yeah, we can put them off until the next meeting.
I'm just saying the violation notices,
Oh,
right? That's what I'm seeing at the top of the next page of the agenda is violation notices, yard waste, etc.
There's been no work on the violation notice except for the one for 44 Eastway went out on Monday.
Okay. Right. And is there anything to report from the previous DPW meeting? Did we talk about that already?
We already talked about it, and I'm just putting on this DPW meeting. I think we should prepare to have Brian not be there. And I don't know if you're available, Martha, but if not, we need to maybe find another commission member who might be available.
I've got it on my calendar. I can be there.
Okay, great.
Okay. And oops. I'm looking at the minutes for approval. The September 14th minutes have come out. I had plenty of time to read them. Is there anybody who feels like they didn't have enough time to read them? Okay. Any comments or corrections to those minutes? Okay. If there are no comments and corrections, can I have a motion to approve those minutes of September 14th?
I move to approve the minutes from September 14th.
Carl Ciccone, second.
John Sullivan in favor.
Andrew Driven in favor.
Carl Ciccone in favor.
Martha Moore in favor. Okay. And I've been working on the October 12th minutes. I took those over. Brian had been planning to do them, but I volunteered to take them on. And I will get them sent out to you guys within about 24 hours. So you'll have them in plenty of time before the next meeting. And someone's doing this September 28th. Is that you, Andrew, or did you do the September 14th?
No, I did the 14th.
You did the 14th. So I think
So-
it's stuck doing.
Yeah, that was me.
Okay. So we'll aim to have those by the next meeting as well.
Yes.
Awesome. All right. And thank you, Andrew, for doing the minutes on the 14th.
No
Good
problem.
job.
Thanks.
Okay. Do we have anything else?
Did we decide who's doing these minutes?
We did not decide that. I'm perfectly happy to do these minutes,
Okay.
especially it's an hour and 14-minute meeting so far. That's an easy ask.
Yeah, the only other thing without, well, I brought this up when we met at Fairchild this morning, but we have the exploratory committee. Is it Simon's Way or Simmons Way?
Simon's, I believe.
Simon's Way Exploratory Committee.
Which I'll be liaison for starting in December. And I was just hoping to get out there with the commission and Fidel to see the site before snow hits the ground, and it's just, you know, it's fall. So I don't know if we could try to schedule something, or if we want to wait to if we hear from Brian. It's not an urgent thing, so I could definitely wait a couple of weeks. But if there's time in the next few weeks and there's no big things going on for the commission, maybe we could get it done early November, early to mid-November.
I think that's a good idea.
Yeah, yeah, our next meeting is on the 9th. It's likely that on the 7th or 8th, there would be site visits for that meeting. If there's room, one of those days would work. If not, you could do the 14th or the 15th. I
Yeah.
don't know if I would push it any further.
What about if we even went the week before, like November 2nd? No, November
Next
2nd
week.
is not so good for me. How about
So
November 3rd?
Well, we're waiting for Brian
Ah.
just to see where he's at.
Okay.
That's what I heard anyways.
Yeah. I
So
mean, that
maybe
gives
not
my-
the first week of November, but maybe the 2nd or 3rd.
What about that Monday, the 7th?
Yeah, it's just, we don't know what's going to come up for the meeting. And you
Right.
might have several site visits for our actual meeting, and this is something that we're not actually would need to do. So,
That's brutal.
Well,
so I think the 7th or the 14th.
We could tentatively schedule for the 7th and see what happens. I could do it as long as it was our typical sort of 8:30 in the morning time.
Okay,
And then if we have to bump it, we can, but we might as well get that on the calendar.
so plan for 8:30. And I'm not familiar with the site at all, so I don't know how long it's gonna take to. Oh, let's keep it quick.
Yeah, so I have, on that day, I have something first thing in the morning.
Okay,
So what's later? Would 9:30 work? For anybody?
it would for me.
As
Okay.
long as I'm done by 11.
Okay. This is also something that Fidel said that he would like to attend if possible.
Yeah,
So we'll get the word to him for the 7th at 9:30.
Okay.
yeah, that sounds good.
All right. I've put it on my calendar.
Just like to hear also from Brian, the only caveat to this is maybe we'd push it to the 14th if Brian felt like that would work better for him. And I'm not having that conversation tomorrow, so
Right.
certainly
Yeah.
sometime next week. You know?
Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah, because Brian goes to everything, and I just want to have him have an opportunity to go to this too.
Mhm. Yeah.
So,
The 16th would work for me as well. So we've got some options if we have to push it back. In fact, 15th would work for me.
Yeah, same. The 14th I couldn't. I have a meeting, but I have the 15th and the 16th open right now.
okay, I can at least bring all those to Fidel and tell him we're just waiting for confirmation from where Brian's at with this.
Sounds good.
All right. Anything else we need to talk about?
Not on the agenda. I think we may be good.
I just wanted to then take the opportunity to go over tree policy and a lot of requests for trees. And we've really done this in the past, but I just wanted to make sure the commission's aware that 4 trees or under is an administrative approval. But 4 trees within the 25-foot or the 35-foot, because it's so close to either bank or BVW, those are reviewed by the Conservation Commission if they're healthy. So, and then I guess on top of that, it would be if 4 trees were in the 35-foot that were diseased, barkless, then it wouldn't go to the Conservation Commission. So that's kind of how we're running the tree policy these days. And we're getting into a point where no one can plant. So the planting has to be reviewed at the beginning of next year, like June. So is that any comments on that, how we're running the review?
I just have one question about the dead trees or diseased trees, but this typically, because for me, it's just easy to create a plan and send you the right information. So Chuck, you've pretty much looked at like my property, but is someone from the commission or you still supposed to say, yes, the tree's dead? Or, you know what I mean? Like, because I mean, I can tell most of us of the commission can say there's no bark, it's hollow, it's dead, but
Those are ones we're very comfortable, or so we're talking the office. 4 trees are under, someone saying they're dead, has to be extremely obvious.
right.
Barkless, holes, something
Yeah.
obvious that we feel qualifies. If there's any question, even though that they've said it's a diseased tree, we don't see it, it goes to the commission.
Okay.
So, you know, like some trees, they have like core decay, or they have crown, you know, it's called crown decay, where wherever they're not, no leaves up there on the crown, and you can see this, but the whole tree is not dying and it's not going to fall down tomorrow. So it's something that the commission can look at. Those are just, more often than not, we're going to be talking to an arborist, or at least a, you know, a tree company that wants to tell us what they know about the tree. So that's why we don't take those ones on.
Yep.
No, it sounds good. Is that presenting any issues for you, Chuck? Or anything?
And the other thing we're doing is everyone who wants to take a tree down starts out by trying to qualify for the tree permit, and then it's denied, and then it goes to the commission. That helps us keep a record and just kind of start to get the information that we need. So I would say the only problem is it's still a lot of information and a lot of application for homeowners to jump from the tree policy into like a request for determination of applicability. But we, in some cases, we're almost writing it for them and preparing the maps, plans. So it just takes a little bit longer to get there.
Got it.
Okay. Anything else? All right. Well, we're very glad to have you back with us tonight, Carl. And I am glad we were able to give you a short meeting to come to.
It's glorious, isn't it?
Mhm. Okay. All right. And we don't have any more site visits currently scheduled until the November 7th. Is that correct?
7th, yeah.
Okay.
And I know I'm still just like, I forget what's a quorum, what's not, and what I can do over email. But, you know, I know Chuck sometimes asks, but if there's, I know I'm not present very much right now, but if there are other landscape or tree or planting questions, you know, virtually is easy for me to access. So
Okay.
if there's other ways, I mean, I'm not, the time commitment's just obviously a lot, but you know, hey, a question here, a question there, I'm happy to help and try to assist. So
We appreciate that very much. Thank you. Okay. Shall we call it a day? Can I have a motion to adjourn our meeting?
Yeah, this is Andy. I'll put a motion to adjourn at 8:25.
This is
Good.
John, I'll second.
All right.
All in favor?
hi.
Okay. All right. Adjourned at 8:25. Thank you all.
Thanks.
Thanks, everyone.
If you
I
hear
know.
anything about Brian, keep us posted if it's okay.
Sure thing. I
Thanks,
will.
Chuck.
Yep. Bye now. Bye, everyone.